Success shouldn't feel this exhausting. If you're winning on paper, but burning out behind the scenes, you aren't failing. You're stuck in a psychological bottleneck called a hurdle of stop. I've been there. On the outside, things look great, but I was secretly burning out, convinced I was just lucky, and waiting to be exposed as a fraud. I realized I didn't have a business problem. I had a mindset block. Whether it's imposter syndrome, perfectionism, or fear or failure, these aren't just feelings. They are growth bottlenecks. Identify your specific hurdle and get one immediate action step to regain your momentum today. Go to tuepodcast.net/quiz. That's tuepodcast.net/quiz to take the 3-minute assessment and get your report now. This is an Undiscovered Legacy production. Hello, Scoob believers, and welcome to episode number 89 of the Undiscovered Entrepreneur Getting Across the Start Line. And it's me, Scoob, coming at you whatever device you happen to be listening on. All right, so today we're talking to a very special gentleman named Dr. Tim Blake. Now, Dr. Tim Blake has been a mental health professional for over 30 years, and he helps people break through the mental barriers by teaching them how to discover and become who they truly were created to be. Isn't that fantastic? So I got together with Dr. Blake, and we had a discussion about the 4 major hurdles of stop, what stops us from getting across the start line. And he had so many great things to say, I had to have him on my podcast. So we're going to do this is going to be a little bit different, but we're going to do a deep dive into the 4 hurdles of stop, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, failure, and fear. And we're going to see what Dr. Tim Blake has to say about it. So let's take a listen. Are you ready to unlock your entrepreneurial potential? Are you ready to break free from all the barriers holding you back? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, your first step in getting across the start line. I'm your host and guide, Scoob, and I'm here with one mission: to help you overcome the obstacles standing between you and the start of your adventure. Whether you're dreaming of launching a startup, creating the next big app, or turning your passion into a thriving business, this podcast is your launch pad. Together we'll navigate the challenges, overcome hidden boundaries that stop us from starting, and learn how to overcome them with the help of others, experience them right along with you. So are you ready to take that crucial step to transform from aspiring to inspiring? Then let's get across that start line together. Right here, right now, on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. Salutations, Scoob believers, and we're here again with another amazing edition of Undiscovered Entrepreneur Get Across the Start Line. Today we're here actually with Tim. We're going to have something a little bit different than we're used to. Tim is actually here to help us with some new information about the 4 hurdles of stop, so we can get across that start line. So I want to introduce Tim. Hi, Tim. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Just. Pleased to meet you. And just let me introduce them a little bit more to who I am. Just kind of what where I've been. I'm actually Dr. Tim Blake. I've got a doctor's degree in counseling psychology. I'm a 30-year mental health professional, been actively working with people and helping them through the difficulties and the stopping points in their life. And actually as well with that, I help people discover, become who they were created to be, to get moving in, as you've got the undiscovered entrepreneur, into what they are actually supposed to be about. And really move into that. And as such, I've moved into coaching myself and crafting life mindset, which is things that help you move forward in terms of how you were created to be. Yes, I'm excited to talk with you about your 4 stopping points and explore this a little bit better so that people can understand what can get in the way of them moving forward.
Fantastic. So I'm going to go over the four hurdles that we go through as entrepreneurs that stop us from getting across the start line: perfectionism, imposter syndrome, fear, and failure. And out of the 3 years that I've been doing this so far, those are the four things that keep coming up time and time again that stop us from getting across the start line. So, what is your perception, or what kind of things can we expect when we experience perfectionism? Let's start there.
Start with perfectionism. Perfectionism is the mindset that I've got to get something done and get it done absolutely right. I have got no leeway. If I get one little thing wrong, I'm going to work really hard to try and get that one little thing wrong. I'm not going to put anything out there until I've absolutely got it perfect. And so it would be like a musician not even engaging in putting out their music until they're sure that every single note is played exactly how they intended. Now with that, there's some practice, there's some rehearsal, there's some things to do to be able to grow. But perfectionism is really going to be the brake that keeps you from accepting and getting started and getting ignited into moving. See, if you've got to have it absolutely perfect, you're stopping before you even get it started. And when I started my coaching journey, coach kept repeating, better done than perfect. To actually do something, at least get it out there, get it started rather than sitting back. It's also interesting that the opposite side of the coin of perfectionism is going to be procrastination, where I'm not satisfied with how things are. I'm not even getting the energy to get ignited to get moving, and I'm certainly not accelerating into what it is I'm supposed to be doing. Instead, I'm pulling back, I'm putting it off, I'm setting things aside. Now procrastination is something in my life I've certainly have some things where I have issues. I have a lifelong history of trying to I put things off. I'll get to it tomorrow. It's just too much energy today. These kinds of things where then it all stacks up and piles up at the end, and then you got a mountain to get through rather than dealing with what you got to do. Perfectionism and procrastination really are a significant obstacle, and some of that obstacle comes from what's going on inside and what we believe about ourselves and even what we believe about what we need to do.
That's exactly the point, too. And I love the point that you're kind of equating perfectionism with procrastination, because from the outside, it doesn't look like those two should be the same thing. But ultimately, that's what you're doing when you're trying to wait for the planets to align. You're waiting for this specific thing to happen before you get started. Oh, it's not happening yet. It's not the right time. So we'll just wait for the right time to happen. But I think you and me both know that right time never really does happen.
No, the best way to start is to start. See, if I didn't, sometimes there is a right time. I can give you an example of that in a minute. But sometimes you just got to start and engage and to begin. And if you got it wrong, you can adjust. You can create, you can refine, you can expand, you can grow. None of us started doing things perfectly. There's not one thing that you ever did that when you started, you got it perfect. And if you did, then you've got some raw talent that was just able to be there. Now there's some musicians like that, perfect pitch, this kind of thing. So there's a real small percentage of folks that have one thing that they're skilled and talented enough, gifted by God, to be able to do that without a whole lot. And the rest of us, we start. We didn't start walking perfectly. We didn't start speaking perfectly, and so on and so forth. It's a learning process. It's a growing process. But sometimes when we don't get that growth mindset, we don't get even the life mindset. We look at that could go wrong. I'm stuck. I can't change. This is too hard. Or looking for just the right time. And sometimes there is a right time. In terms of when I got my doctoral degree, I've been doing, like I said, mental health for a long. And it was nice. I'd like to get I started with a master's degree. It'd be nice to get a doctoral degree, but there's money, there's time. We ended up at a conference where there was a lot of education for Christian mental health professionals, and did there. And there was a booth, this particular degree that was reasonably affordable and did not require what I didn't need. And what I didn't need was a continued experience and practicums and the like. I just needed to get the doctoral degree to be able to advance myself and grow. This degree, right time, right person. And actually, in terms of right time, right place, right person, in that whole program, and when I finished up, actually, they decided to close it down and do something else. So it was just the opportune time. So sometimes there are opportune times and moments, but that's all a matter of you don't get those if you're not going places, you're not doing things, you're not. You don't have the spark and you don't engage and you're not even thinking about things. We're just waiting back and going, yeah, yeah, something. I'm going to get that money somehow. I'm going to get me a job, and it's just come my way, and you don't do anything to pursue it. Or say, yeah, someday I'd like to start a business, but no, no, I mean, not time yet. See, I undiscovered entrepreneur. You actually have to have the spark to engage. You have to have a thought that this is something I'd really like to do, and I've got skills to do it, and I got skills to learn to do it. Yeah, so it's engaging and taking the steps. If you're not ignited, if you're not motivated, you'll not accelerate and you'll go nowhere fast. And when you go nowhere fast, then you retreat and things spiral into a negative hole.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it really, a lot of us find ourselves doing that to ourselves. And it's really hard to overcome that sometimes for the people that can't get across the start line with that perfectionism. But just it doesn't matter what you do as long as you do something to get across the start line. Whether it's just read a book, whether it's just talk to somebody, the snowball will start rolling, and you start realizing you are making movement, and that'll give you the confidence to keep going and keep going and keep going. So what happens if we go ahead?
I said psychologically, what it's really down to is that inertia principle. You see, we tend to stay in the state we are until something energizes, sparks us to make a change. So if you're moving, you're going to be moving. If you're not moving, you're going to hold back. And as we get to even the other stopping points, the other hurdles, we're going to see this pattern as well with them.
Exactly. So what do we do when we have a significant other or someone that says, "I don't want you to do anything until this time is perfect"? Does that? I mean, that's actually what happened to me when I first got it started. So I was wondering if you had any insights on that.
Well, you work to balance and negotiate. And I've certainly got limits here in terms of starting out my journey as an entrepreneur. I mentioned the coaching system, but I got hooked in that coaching system. They were promoting the summit system. And yeah, you'll be able to do that. You'll get clients, all that. It didn't work out quite. They did. I spent a good chunk of change getting it going. My wife says, now I told you. And now I told you. So the amount of money I've got to put into continuing these things is much smaller than the large chunk of change I put in at the beginning into something that I learned from, but it wasn't the right fit. And what they said wasn't true for the kind of people I'm reaching out to. So you got to work and negotiate with those that are in your life. And so they say, now not time. Let's try within your relationship. The person you're with and what they respond to. Respect them, but try and work and get them to understand. And so it may slow you back a little bit while you're trying to get them along and see some positivity. If you can get them the heart of who you are and your message and get them, this is what we're going to do. This is moving forward. Yeah, we're going to have some struggles to begin with because very few people start off and go zoom and get the business off the ground. That's not realistic. And the coaches that teach that, they're just pulling money, so to speak. So you got to do the work, you got to put it in, and you got to negotiate with those that care about you. Yeah, and if they've got their own issues, which they're going to, you already know that, and it's something you got to work on negotiating and finding a way together to get things moving forward. So that when you get the return, when you've been through the process and refined enough to things begin, then they can see it. But it's a negotiation to get there.
All right. Thank you very much. That's a great example. I really appreciate that. We're going to move on to another one of the hurdles, and we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome itself is really kind of near and dear to my heart because that's the one thing that stifled me from moving on to getting to the next part or moving at all. Really, it stopped me from getting across the start line. And I think that's why it touches my heart a little bit when I talk about imposter syndrome. So, what are some of the signs of imposter syndrome, and how can we spot it?
Imposter syndrome, and just let's explain this for the audience that may or may not know what imposter syndrome is. Imposter syndrome is, okay, I've gone here and I've done a little bit. I'm having some success, but I look at it and I go, that's not me. There's something wrong. I'm getting some validation from somebody over here, but they don't really know who I am and what I'm going through. This is all just a big show, and I'm not really authentically me in all this, that there's something flawed and broken that's not seen and understood. See, so imposter syndrome is really a shame-based perception of self, and that can't even accept the progress there is. That when even somebody gives you validation, no, they don't know. Yeah, if they really knew what it was like, they wouldn't be saying that. So that we don't even believe that the good things that we have to put out there that we've been given, that's part of who we created, are even valid. And so we get stuck in terms of, that's why they call it imposter syndrome. It's some other me. It's not really me because they don't really know how bad I am. And if they really knew, they wouldn't even listen to me. And I'm surprised that anyone's listening to me or paying attention, because I expect nothing. I expect to be rejected. See, some of it's going to come from your personal entries that you've got in terms of your life growing up. Maybe it's like me with a lot of rejection. I grew up, I was one of the ones that was picked on all the way from first grade all the way through high school. Private Christian school and public school, it didn't matter. There was something happened. So I've got a lot of that. I was very immature, a whole lot of things in terms of my history through that. Things I teach and grow and come from my own experience in terms of mental health stuff as a starting point. So those rejection wounds, and even as I started, in terms of being an entrepreneur and my own breaks, even in terms of procrastination, come from my own rejection pieces where, okay, I think I've got that resolved, and now it's coming up, and then, okay, got to slow it down. I don't know if I'm really going to be able to do this. Are people really going to attend to me, really listen to me? So you can hold back and not engage. And that's not a matter of perfectionism or procrastination. It's really, am I going to put myself out there? Because I already know that I'm going to get hurt and they're going to reject me before I even get started. So why bother? And see, I started, like when I started with the summits, and I started with the summits and started with reaching out to men, and Christian men in particular, because that was part and parcel of things I've been told I'm good at doing, working with really difficult men. That first summit, I got an email list of 50. And I really had to beg for the 28 speakers to get involved. And they didn't like, and they weren't really at the recommended list of 5,000 emails. That didn't fly. And so it was a real slow start. And I could have sat there and say, see, what's God doing? Why am I doing this? I'm not going to go anywhere. This is all a waste of time. Didn't go there. It's okay. We'll try again. That slowed me down, though. I didn't just go right away. It took me some time. And now even recognizing in the second summit I run, which I got a much better, it was far more successful, but still not the kind of numbers that would generate being able to pull in people to get my services, but it was better than the first. But it's also started the foundation of where I'm at now. But then after that, worked with someone, I pulled back a bit and slowed down and to recenter myself, really focus on some things, get a plan, and where it moved into, okay, that summit system's not going to work. It was too much money, and there's good things for that, and I will do them in the future, but I put that aside. Okay, what do I need to do? I need to work on getting myself out there, guest podcasting or speaking, and working on those things and get some pieces established better so that I can move. And this is the process I've been going through. As I'm processing what's going on with myself, recognizing what's going on with me, my own wounds and pains, and working on that through myself psychologically and certainly spiritually with God as well. That's a big part of my life, to recognize the value and worth it. And that if God generates something for me and puts me in a direction, he's going to see it through. and just have to take the steps to find what is it that's going to work. Within that, I developed in this process last year, which I didn't have until a couple of months ago, the life mindset, which is becoming everything about what I'm about and teaching. It's kind of like suddenly I've got it in terms of what is the key that's going to help draw in, and by engaging, by evaluating, by looking and seeking and finding what is it that's going to work, taking the time to reflect. And then when you reflect, engage in, okay, what is it that I need to work on? What is it I need to refine? What is it I need to clarify? Where's my level of faith? What am I committed to? And what's my support coming alongside me with? To have those things that enable you to fully get going, to add and multiply towards what you've already started.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. What are some best practices that we can do to get our mindset right about imposter syndrome?
So the real skill to utilize is to be able to engage in reflection. Now reflection comes to, you have to have some awareness. So, and in terms of mental health, in terms of emotions, whatever, you get all this out there. So be mindful, practice mindfulness. You see, the problem with mindfulness, though, is that it's observing. You don't really get any answers. In fact, they tell you not to judge how you're feeling. And when you're through an emotion in a moment, there's a time to ride through the emotion and let it settle. But in order to figure out what's going on, you've got to be able to reflect, because our emotions are cues to what's going on internally within us. Those wounds that are there, the wounds that are there, we don't even know why we're doing what we're doing, because it's automatic. Because these things happen. So you have to slow down and not just know what you're feeling, be aware of it, but also take time to reflect. And it's asking those questions, what we call critical thinking, but critical thinking to sort out what's going on with you. Asking the why. Why am I responding to say, what's going on with me? Where's the connection? And not just start at one level, go deep. And if you get stuck, don't just say, okay, I don't know. It just kind of, what's the first thing that comes to mind? And then explore deeper until you get there. And if you have a hard time doing that yourself, then certainly get professionals to help you work through that process. A psychotherapist, mental health professional, what have you. But these are things and skills that you can actually utilize to move yourself through a process of refinement. And so it starts with reflection. And once you got some ideas, then you want to refine it. You want to work on understanding it better, making things more clear, find ways to make sure that I'm in alignment with what is right, and then be able to, in turn, optimize what's working best and let go of the things that aren't. And that's whatever skill that you use in terms of doing that, whatever matches you is going to help you, but just be able to sort out processing. He does the same with the business, right? So you start the business and it's not working. You do the same thing. And if you do the same thing, you might tweak it a little bit, but it probably isn't going to have the same effect. You gotta have to take a look and say, oh, what might work, what do I need to refine? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to pursue? And what do I need to set forward to be able to get to where I'm wanting to go? I mean, the ones that even teach, the beginners, like myself and others, how to start, are those that are all about scaling. And some of them are teaching you things that are sound, and others are just repeating the same old line that they were told by somebody else, and they're just looking to get the money, and they're really not invested in you. So you be careful out there, fellow entrepreneurs, because there's so many shady folks out there. And some that are well-intentioned, but they just want to find the ones that really follow their program, and the rest get filtered out, and they found the ones that they can help make money. That's the coaching program I invested in, was part of what they do. Find the ones that are already prepared to soar, and the rest, okay, you'll move on. We got your money, and we just want to find the ones that are already narrowed in and already able to get there.
That's why it's important to do your research on these people before you actually spend that kind of money, because it's going to be a heck of an investment in yourself, but at the same time, it's going to be in somebody else's pocket. So make sure it's going to be something that's going to be worth getting.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, the job of making it sound like it's worth getting, but they don't give you the full picture. How much you do this, but say you're starting coaching and doing courses, whatever. Tell you about, okay, you can start with some software that doesn't cost you much, but to really do it, you got to really get a good funnel system and system to do the courses. That's going to cost some money. And you got all these other softwares out there that you add on to that can add up real fast outside of what you already paid for coaching or whatever other business that you're pursuing. I mean, if you're selling items, there's a whole lot of technicalities in terms of you can't just pop up a store online and make money selling, even though people will tell you they can do that.
Exactly.
It doesn't happen. You can't just craft a book and pop it on Amazon and have people buy it. And even now with the AI, people can generate a book that they've got no input in, that the computer program put it out and to generate it and pop it out there and try and sell it.
Yeah, that is happening more and more these days. So we got to keep an eye out for that. So I hope that actually helps somebody as far as imposter syndrome is concerned and how we can kind of change our mindset on how we can fix that in ourselves so it doesn't bother us so much. We're not going to completely, I don't think we're ever going to completely get rid of imposter syndromes in our head in one place or another, but we could definitely do something about kind of getting our head straight and being able to cope with it.
Right, and it's getting the head straight as well as the heart and the wholeness of who you are as a person. You see, you're doing the work to engage and be willing to engage in the refinement and growth process. It's not a one and done. You see, I talk about life mindset. Life mindset for me is not about, I understand life. I got that. It's an ongoing connection to where life is flowing. To be able to see where life is connected with me, that includes the relationship with God. But am I in the flow? Am I doing what I am supposed to be about? In my alignment with who I was made to be and doing the work to get there, the growth and continue refinement. It's not ever a one and done. You grow and you learn, just like we grow and learn growing up in school and the things we learn in school, learning to speak, learning to do the next step, learning to drive, learning to work, all these things that are a progressive process. And our mindset, getting our mind right, is how I'm seeing the world as a whole. What am I filtering through? Am I filtering through the imposter syndrome? Am I filtering it through all sorts of other things, some of which may be a victim mindset, where I've been hurt so much I can't ever do anything because I just do that, I'm going to be hurt. People get stuck in that. And so they get helpless and hopeless and don't ever progress because they've already stuck and they've already dismissed themselves before they get going.
Right.
Which lead into the failure and fear elements that you've got as the other pillars that are connected to that.
Right. Actually, that's what I was going to go next into was failure. Failure is something, and there's a reason why I kind of combine. I mean, they're different but same at the same time. But I tend to kind of combine fear and failure. I mean, all these things that we talk about all culminate around fear. I mean, these are all different types of fears. But one thing I always hear about is the fear of failure. So can you kind of explain that kind of interaction?
Fear of failure, it means that I want something really, really bad and I'm not going to get it. So why even bother? I mean, it's dismissing yourself. It's already, rather than taking a look at, I'm going to be able to learn and pursue and even maximize, that I'm not even going to try. Not thinking now, sometimes when you have limits, for example, I'm not really good at racket sports. No, all of the chaos I grew up in, my mother always instilled in me, you try, at least try something. You try this and have me try all sorts of hobbies and see what things forget. But in terms of racket sports, my vision, my depth perception, the way I see things, I just can't do well at that. Yeah, and I tried. Even in college, I played racquetball and I didn't do, I mean, I did it, but there's just the depth perception holes and things where that's not hand-eye. So I could keep trying at that and I may get a little bit better, but I'm never going to do it very well. And in my mind, sometimes I even bother because I can't, but then I put myself in positions to at least try taking racquetball in college. But if you've got a failure, I'm not even going to try, and that's not something I can do. You may not learn. Maybe you keep yourself from something that actually it connects with you. And man, I didn't know how much that is true to me because I didn't even try because I figured I just can't. They tell me I can't. I got messages that say I can't. And so I don't want to be hurt. See, all of this, what we do, we want to avoid pain. We want to avoid harm. And we want things that are pleasurable and do well. but we don't really want the work in between. We want the things to go well just automatically and be given to us without the work to grow to get there. See, part of the feel failure, it comes from, though, as well, what Dweck would call a fixed mindset, where I see these limits and there's only so far I can go, and I'm not capable of change. That's not something I can do. And now, Dweck would teach all change, growth mindset. You can change and grow in anything. Not 100% accurate, because we all got limits. There's things that we can. I could practice racket sports till blue in the face. I'm not going to do well. You sat and asked me to cut in a straight line. I can't do that. My coordination, I can't cut straight. I can't even cartoon. I can't even try color in the lines. In fact, when I was a kid, I had an assignment. The teacher said, "It wouldn't pass me until I colored in the lines." My mother finally had my brother sit down and do it in order to get me to pass, because there's no way on earth I was going to have colored in lines. It just wasn't there, and it still can't to this day. So yeah, we got some limitations, but discovering your limitations and accepting your weaknesses for what they are is certainly part of embracing life, not just and growing and saying I can change, but also looking at the things you do wrong and fail, not as things that are judgment on you or some pain, but something that it teaches me something and enables me to refine something so that I can know, well, what works and what doesn't work. Just like I started business, like the summits, and it didn't work quite well. Am I a failure? Did I have it all wrong about trying to move into a new way of doing things, or am I just supposed to do the things I've been doing? See, if I let the fears and the failures get in the way, I'd just be working my jobs, keep working the 60 hours until I get retirement age, and then I can't retire because I still got to work because I have no real money to live on, and so then I work until I can't anymore. Mm-hmm. Or do I engage in finding the ways to build up an income that I'm able to do, which is the impetus and the ignition point for me in becoming an entrepreneur, to be able to get some point where, Lord willing, I've got enough put in that I get a return that enables me to let go of the things I've been doing and embrace where it is, where it's bringing enough harvest for me to be productive. But if I just operate what's not working, I'm failing, and I give up and shut it all down, then I'm just going to be striving and struggling for going nowhere.
Yeah, that's fantastic information. That hits me right in the heart too, because that's kind of what happened to me on a couple of things where I started doing something and I realized that it's not working out the way I wanted to, so I just kind of threw my hands up in the air. I said, "Okay, I'm not going to do this." Where if I continued on and maybe just pivoted or changing something a little bit different, but continued going, gosh knows what I'd be doing right now that might be better. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast too, because I realized this is something I could continue pivot with, and it's in my zone of genius. I don't fear it anymore. I mean, getting on a camera and things like that, that's getting over fear to begin with. But now I've taught myself to, instead of kind of shying away from fear, but actually moving towards fear. If I fear it, I have to do it, because on the other side of that fear, I know is something that's going to be real good for me. And I'm not going to have that regret.
On that fear, think of it as you will, that in order to progress, that you're standing at the top of a bridge. Okay. I'm in Minnesota, so people get on a bridge and they jump into the lake. Okay. Standing on the bridge, looking to jump in the lake. You're going to have all sorts of anxiety. You're going to have all sorts of fear. You're going to have this going on. But when you take the jump, it's exhilarating. And you get there. So sometimes that is the way it is. Sometimes we just have to face challenges and get over ourselves. I've certainly had those things in my life. See, given my history, which I'm not going to go into, but as a young man, I was phobic of women. I didn't marry my wife until the mid-30s, and she's the only one I've been with. But I had a lot of work to do on my fears related to responding to women. And God worked in a process and a healing journey within that. But there were steps I had to take. And when there's steps I had to take, there's some anxiety. There's some, I got to do this. No, I don't want to do this. Okay, I got to do this. And you take the step and you move forward. And once you move forward, okay, I finally did that. And then you move on to the next. That's even how it is with change and growth sometimes. You got this barrier, you got this thing that's getting in the way. You got some work to do, and you kind of hold back. No, I'll just stay here. I'll just camp out here because that's too scary. and then you settle and you stagnate and you don't get what you can get. But if you push through the fears and the anxiety and the fear of failure, you're able to get to the other side and you're able to say, okay, I got here. And then you got a whole nother set of things to learn and grow until you get to the next step in the journey. It's either progressing, and if you're not progressing, you're going to be sliding down. You're going to be caught in what I call your negative spirals, the things that spiral you into the destructive elements of your life. Yeah, and that's hard to rise up from. But you can always pick up and restart. You see, part of what I do right now is working with addicts. They're always relapsing. It's hard to get them to move forward and to change. But there's some that are going there. They're moving. They're progressing. Others is nope, not going to do it, and I'm just riding out my time until I get my own place, my own job, and they end up dead sooner or later.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I'm going to wrap things up here a little bit, but before we go, I would like to see if do you have an overall last word you'd like to say about any of the four hurdles that we've talked about today?
Right. So to wrap up, you're right, and fear is behind a lot of this. And in terms of moving beyond fear and moving forward, where are you looking for your security? Where are you looking for life? And what are your love beliefs in terms of that? Because fear is out there. In Scripture would say, "Perfect love casts out fear." So engage in the process of sorting through yourself and be able to find a way for you that's going to help you move forward in life. What I would call a life mindset, which is being able to take in what you got and what you've been given. You receive that and be able to, in turn, then refine, figure out what is going on, what works, what doesn't work, and then you release it. You let go of the things that get in the way. You maximize and optimize the things of value that you can in turn use to bless others, because it's not about me. It's about all of us. And that's really in terms of embracing life and embodying life and the kinds of things that you've got that's possible for you. It's going through that process, looking at life in such a way that I'm going to find whatever I've been given and work to the best to be able not just to grow my own little world, but to find ways to bless others, and in turn multiplies and moves on from there.
Fantastic. It's all about helping others, really, in the end. And then in turn, they will help us in one way, shape, or form. So that's great. That's amazing. All right, Tim, Dr. Tim, I would like you to go ahead and just advertise yourself. This is your time to shine now. I want you, if we want to know more about what you do and how we want to get a hold of you for services.
So my services and my website's lifemindset.life, real easy to remember. It's all about life. So lifemindset.life. And you go to the website, you can get a free primer. I'm finishing up honing up that, but that'll be available. A free primer on Life Mindset goes into some of the details. Also, I'm involved in a Life Success Summit. I've got a book I put together, a devotional book. It uses some scriptural, uses some psychology, and also some quotes that works through life success principles. And it's not a book meant to be read to learn. It's about helping you move through and processing and taking time to sort through yourself on things like authenticity, originality, connection, which are the really three life success. So there you go to lifesuccessgift.lifemindset.life. You can connect the form to get that for free. On my website, I'll have it up for $14.95, but for people, and it's 100 and some pages that were crafted together, but it's 12 segments of really reflective writings, as well as reflective exercise, the things I talked about in terms of reflection. It works you through just some directions to help yourself on that. So that's available for folks for free. So that's the free stuff. And I've got two things that people can do if you want to know yourself better. I've got a process to tell people, and it's a shorter process. So it involves some questionnaires and some things to begin to get you thinking about yourself, and then have a conversation with me to help you put that together. And which will include, by the way, for folks that wonder if you're ADHD, I got quick screening I can do to tell you if you are or not. Just a little thing there. So I've got that available. I've also I got a more extended coaching to really about growing life mindset, about these kinds of things I talk about, and the real in depth about really working on yourself to get you to a place of life different than you are now. I've got actually 5 50-day segments for that, where people do 5 days of 50 days of real intensive work, and the whole 5 segments of that in the course of a year. If you choose to invest in that, and if you just want one segment, then that's fine. So those are the things I'm offering at this point. And things are in the work, and I'm doing what I can to expand myself. But you can go to the website and check that out. And the website's still in the process of refinement. It's not perfect yet by any means, but it's started. I'm still refining that. But look forward to anybody that wants to connect and know more. You can find me at the website. And again, for the reflective book, Life Success Gift, lifemindset.life, and the website for the other stuff. So, yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much, Jesse, for this time. I enjoyed the conversation, and certainly, also, if anyone wants, you forgot about this, on Facebook, I have a public Facebook group, Discover Life Mindset. So you don't want to go to the website, you're on Facebook and you just want to kind of see what I have to say. You ask me questions, whatever. You can find me, Tim Blake, on there. But Discover Life Mindset, it's a public group, easily found, that you can certainly join as well. You don't have to worry about anything else if you want to stay on the edges and the shallow end, so to speak.
Fantastic. And all that good stuff we'll actually have in the show notes for y'all too. Just go ahead and click on that if you want to get more information about Dr. Tim and what he's offering. Thank you very much for all that free information that you're putting out there. That will definitely help a lot of our Scoob believers out there that want to kind of dive in a little bit deeper of what you have to offer. So I appreciate you very much, Dr. Tim.
I appreciate you, Jess. It's been a pleasure. And anytime in terms of anything that you want to explore further discussion, hit me up. I'd certainly be glad to engage in whatever you want to discuss further.
All right, Scoob believers, thank you for another great episode, and make sure you stay tuned for the wrap up. All right, everybody, thank you. Bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Tim Blake. Great conversation about the 4 hurdles of what stops us from getting across the start line. And a couple of things I just want to kind of go over with you a little bit. And we talk about fears and avoiding fears. And instead of avoiding your fears, move towards your fears. Because on the other side of those fears lies something extraordinary that you might regret for not pushing forward to get over those fears. If we don't take that chance, if we don't take that calculated chance, we could be missing out on the one thing that catapults us in our entrepreneur adventure. Also, life isn't about being perfect. I mean, I've said this before, I'll say it again, there's nothing perfect about what we actually do here. There isn't anything perfect about this from the start. It's about taking that first imperfect step and refining yourself through each failure until you become what you're meant to be. Because each of those failures is going to be a stepping stone into what you are meant to be. Don't be afraid to take those leaps. Don't be afraid to take those steps. It's all going to lead to where you're supposed to be and greatness. And with that, I'm going to say thank you very much for another episode of the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. Get across the start line, and I will see you next week. Goodbye, everybody. And there you have it, future entrepreneurs. We've taken another step towards our journey to get across that start line. Remember, every great business starts with a single idea and the courage to pursue it. You've already shown that courage by joining us here today. As we wrap up this episode of The Undiscovered Entrepreneur, I want to remind you that the start line isn't as far away as you might think. With each bit of knowledge you gain, each fear you face, you're getting closer to launching your dream. Until our next episode together, keep pushing, keep dreaming, and most importantly, keep taking those steps across the start line. They'll all add up to big strides in your entrepreneur adventure. This is Scoob, your guide across the start line. Remember, your future is waiting. I can, I am, I will, and I'm doing it today.
Hello, Scoob believers. Let me ask you a real quick question. How many cups of coffee have you had today? 3, 5, 7? And let me guess, you've got a Red Bull in the other hand just in case, right? Yeah, I see you. Now, here's the truth bomb nobody wants to hear. You're not building a business. You're building a caffeine dependency. Listen, I get it. When you're grinding 12, 14, 16-hour days, you're building something from nothing. When you've got payroll to meet, investors to impress, and visions that won't wait. You need fuel. But what if I told you that the fuel that you're using is actually slowing you down? What if the very thing that you think is keeping you sharp is actually making you dull? Enter Rise Coffee. This isn't your grandma's mushroom tea. This isn't some hippie wellness trend. This is science meets performance. And here's what makes Rise different. Less than half the caffeine of a regular cup of coffee. But here's the kicker. You won't miss it. 6 organic powerhouse mushrooms, including cordyceps, what Olympic athletes use, and lion's mane, what Silicon Valley biohackers swear by. Sustained energy that doesn't spike and crash. We're talking smooth, clean power from morning to moonlight. Crystal clear focus without the jitters. Imagine closing the deal with calm, confident mind instead of the caffeine chaos. Gut health and immune support, because what's the point of building an empire if you're too sick to enjoy it? So here's the challenge to you. Stop borrowing energy from tomorrow. Stop running on fumes and call it a hustle. Stop wearing your caffeine addiction like a badge of honor. Real entrepreneurs optimize, real entrepreneurs adapt, real entrepreneurs win. You can't win if you're crashing at 2 p.m. while your competition is just getting started. Break the cycle. Head to risesuperfoods.com right now and use code PODNA15 for 50% off your first order. That's PODNA15 for 15% off. Try it for 30 days. If you don't feel the difference, if you don't feel sharper, calmer, more focused, more alive, then go back to your 6-a-day cup habit. But I'm telling you, you won't, because once you feel what real energy feels like, you'll never go back. Ditch the addiction, fuel your empire, and rise up. Rise Coffee, energy that builds, not burns.